Hi, good morning, sir. My name is Sabiono Melasio, base A1 Block 1. The question is, the chemical and biological process activities happen at the soil? Definition. The chemical sides of a soil is extremely important, of course, and it is about the correct balance of the available nutrients in the soil. This is largely determined by the organic matter content and its humus percentage. This is the pantry of nutrients on any farm. The extent to which minerals have to be preserved or not affect the release of specific nutrients. Supplement shortage is important, but the right balance is even more important. The soil only produces nutrients if you have the right balance. The chapters elucidate the technologies of biological and chemical wastewater treatment is the process to treatment include bioremediation of the wastewater that includes aerobic treatment, oxidation pumps, aeration lagoons, aerobic biofactors, active slugger percolating or tricking fibers, biological filters, routine biological contactors, biological remover of nutrients, and aerobic treatment and aerobic biofactor. These are the chapter. Example of the question. Introduction. The chapter concerned with wastewater treatment engineer with focus on the biological and chemical treatment process. It aims all providing a brief and obvious description of the treatment methods, design, schematics, and specification. The chapter also answered an important question on how different processes are interrelated and the correct order of these process in relation to each other. The main object of this work was to summarize the work of eminent scientists in the field in order to provide a clear but concise chapter that can be used as a quick reference for environment engineer and researcher and to be effectively implemented in the higher education. Introduction. The chapters concerned with wastewater treatment engineers with focus in the biological process because it aims to provide a brief and obvious description of treatment methods to how on the biological chemical treatment. The main object of this work was to summarize the work of eminent scientists in the field in order to provide a clear but concise chapter that can be used as a quick reference for environmental engineers and researchers and to be effectively implemented in higher education and teaching undergraduate and graduate students as well as extension and outreach. Chapter description and content overview. The chapter is described the biological and chemical wastewater treatment and process that includes biomedication of wastewater using oxidation pumps, aeration lagoons, aerobic and anaerobic biofactors, and, and, antibactive slugging, percolating or drinking filters, biological filters, rotating biological contactors, and biological removal of nutrients. Conclusion. Biological activity in soil are widely recognized as playing a vital part in nutrients cycling and ability to plants and in developing and maintaining soil structure and contribute to soil health. Sustainable land use requiring the soil degradation cases and the soil management. The practice are adopted to conserve and augment soil resources. Microorganism fungi is comprise just one of the function group or organism that are important in the soil ecosystem. But there is position in forming direct links between roots and plants, and the soil fiber means the deep play key roles in the soil plant interaction. The dependence of mycorrhizal fungi on the photosynthesis plant. The product means that they make key roles in the soil farm interaction. The dependence of mycorrhizal fungi in the photosynthesizing plant means that they do not deplete this reserve of soil organic matter, and cyprotic microorganisms do but contribute to its accumulation. They create a hyphae and spores see and indirect view their effects on plant growth. The effect of mycorrhizal associate on agricultural and horticulture system are the also most potential beneficiary, with only a very few reports of the growth depression in field situation that remains effectively explained. Mojo and Hendricks, 1986, Mojo et al. 1987. There is increasing evidence that mycorrhizal fungi contribute to crop productive and are important in way in which crop responds to fertilizer application. It is possible to make estimate of potential saving in fungi is currently limited to related small scales, high value system or subsistence farming. This picture may change when enculibate of VA microhyphae fungi can be readily produced in a form that is convenient to wider application. At present, it is important to view mycorrhizal associate as integral components of a complex soil ecosystem and to manage that system in order to minimize the contribution that mycorrhizal most certainly make the soil process and growth of plants. Research directly towards an understanding the activities of mycorrhizal fungi is the agricultural and horticulture system is a value both in determining appropriate management strategies and background against which inculation techniques will be developed. Good soil structure is essentially important, but a plant productively and for control of aeration and losses that stem from it. The benefits here are in fertility, erosion control, and water management, and are intrinsically linked to the growth of plants under fungal symbiotes. One aspect of environmental degradation which is receiving increasing attention in the transfer of nutrients frequently appeal as fertilizer to aquatic system. The consequences is the loss of nutrients for crops and reduced water quality on aerobic cushion. The rose plants in reducing these nutrients transferred are being recognized in the land management and the potential of mycorrhizal fungi to contribute the effective swagging of nutrients. Qualify but clearly understand that the rules and extensions didn't fall in sustaining ecosystem and evaluate it would be friendly protect and return as much diversity as possible. It is therefore important to view mycorrhizal associate as integral component of complex soil ecosystem and to manage those systems is ordered to minimize the contribution that mycorrhizal most certainly make the soil process and growth of plants. Researchers directly towards understand the activities of mycorrhizal fungi in producing system is viable both in determining appropriate management strategy and as a background against when effective ecolocation techniques may be developed. Qualified ecolocation techniques may be developed in future that remains a more both scope for investigation of both fundamental and applied aspect of mycorrhizal symbiosis. These studies is pursue all the silker who plant and community levels will enrich our understanding of the role mycorrhizal is extend ecosystem, both natural and man-made. The need of reliable data that impact of disturbance, fragmentation of natural resources and climate change introduce an elements of urges of suggest of knowledge. Hermans and Keld, 1979, study under the laboratory condition the affected of returning overshade addiction in some psychological and microbiological characteristics of surface soil. The returning oil should use one produced by para process sample of returning in study site by Basil Nartwey. This the sample of surface soil collected from the study site were been mixed in different proportion of by weight obtaining 5 variables. 100% of soil control, 95% of soil plus, 5% of shade, 90% of soil plus, and 10% of shield, 75% of soil plus, and 25% of shield, and 100% of shield control. The mixture were stirred at 23 to 25 degrees Celsius with a soil water content maintaining at 10% with and sample and analyzed at 2 weeks interval over the 10 weeks period. Degradation and activities are compelling those in the control the soil. These results have a great importance for a revision of programs in areas disturbed by oil shale processing. If returning are covering with surface soil, it may be necessary to ensure that lethal physical mixing of the soil, surface soil and returning oil shade occurs. It may be necessary to consider the construction of capillary barriers below the surface soil column to minimize upward movements of soil fraction from returning oil solid. These are suggests were verified by Sorin et al. 1981, Dakel et al. 1982 and 1985 under the field condition using experimental plot installing in the Paris Basel in the autumns of 1977 and designed to allow the study of vibration suggests on surface soil, a fine lump of variables depth. Using experimental plot, installing in the first vessel in autumn of 1977 and designing to allow the study of vibration, suggestion of soil and fine lump variable depth, thickness, overlying reported oil shade, and graveling fires to profile configuration for 5 panels including panels with a soil depth of 30, 61, and 91 cm over compact cell capillary barriers. These are kinds of. The source of each panel was divided into 3 replicant plots. Within each of these plots, 9 possible combination of 3 same mixtures. The native species, introduced species, and native plus introduced. Observation such as accumulate beneficial effect of pressure of degradative impact of suggesting cereal crops on a coarse texture sandy loam soil in Australia from figure provide a basic recommending rotation to maintain sustainable that are most beneficiary effects for growing legume crops and factor and rotation. They improve soil structure, biological activity and crop fields, as well as increasing soil organic matter and nutrients. Variation types of human activity decreasing soil organic matter contents and biological activity. However, increasing the organic matter content of soil or even maintaining good levels require a sustainable effort that includes returning organic materials to soil and rotation will highly reduce crops and depth or retaining crops. It is especially difficult to reach the organic matter content of soil that are well irrigated, some coarse sands and soil and warm hot and irrigation because the added materials dispose rapidly. Soil organic matter levels can be maintaining with the less organic reducing in fine texture soil in cold temperature and most wet region will restrict aeration. Any forms of human intervention influence the activity of soil organism by Corey and Gold 1992 and those equilibrium of the system management practice that alter the living and nutrients conditions of the soil organism such as repeated tillage or burning of vegetation reduce in the creation of their microenvironments in turn to result in a reduction of soil beta. both in biomass and diversity, where there are no longer organisms to decompose soil organic matter and blind soil particles. Micro results in degradation of their microenvironments. In turn, the result in reduction of soil beta, both in biomass diversity, where there are no longer organisms to decompose soil organic matter and the blind soil particles. The soil structure is damaged easily by rain, wind, and sun. They can lead to organic matter is microscope and macroscoping organism, fungal hyphae and invertebrates, detritus from fungi and animals and bacteria and biological exudates, all assist in stabilizing soil structure. The role each part of biomass differ according to in this size. By figure 22 is broadly large. That's all. Thank you. I hope you understand my tackle in this report. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for watching.